Tigist Assefa, 2025 London Marathon victory, the record-breaking moment. Crossing the finish line in 2 hours 15 minutes and 50 seconds, the Ethiopian athlete didn't just win the TCS London Marathon. She demolished the women-only world record by 26 seconds, a staggering margin at the elite level. The previous mark of 2 hours 16 minutes and 16 seconds had been set just a year earlier on the same streets by Perez Jepchirker, the very runner who had beaten Assefa to the title in 2024. This time, there would be no denying the 28-year-old from Addis Ababa. The victory was a masterpiece of tactical patience and explosive finishing power. Olympic champion Sifan Hassan of the Netherlands and fellow Ethiopian Megerdo Alamu followed pacemakers through a blistering 5 kilometers in 15:34, a pace not just targeting the women-only record, but flirting with a sub 2:12 marathon, unheard of in a women-only race. The race's decisive break came after 35 kilometers. After miles of consistent 5:26 to 5:28 pacing, Assefa unleashed a devastating 5:03 mile, the 24th of the race, that broke Jepchirker's resistance. By 40 kilometers, her lead was 56 seconds. She powered down them all alone, striding over the finish line with a mix of exhaustion and triumph, winning by almost 3 minutes. Dear Ethio Athletics viewers, please enjoy this amazing race and victory from Tigist Assefa as she breaks women's only world record. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Tigist Assefa took a whopping 2 minutes off that world record in 2023. She's only run 5 marathons, but that includes a second here last year and an Olympic silver. But this woman from the Netherlands, Sifan Hassan, has 6 Olympic medals, 3 of them gold. The last one, a dramatic gold medal on the streets of Paris after those 2 bronzes on the track. She always with British contingent down there as well. We're going to meet some of the highlighted entries, starting with Eilish McColgan, a Scottish athlete, a 4-time Olympian, making her long-awaited debut here at the London Marathon. She's talked it down in the press conference, say she's targeting the Scottish record of 2:26.40, but she's going with the pacing group. There is underneath 2:20, so we'll see what McColgan can manage. Megerdo Alamu has done 6 consecutive London Marathons. She was just off the podium last year in a new personal best, the dominant winner of the Valencia Marathon in December. Vivian Cheriot is the Olympic and world champion on the track, has won the London Marathon in 2018 in what is still her personal best time. Jocelyn Jepchirker was the 2021 winner. She was then 2nd in 2022 and 3rd in 2023. Just recently run a half. Brings a certain level of drama to any marathon that she competes in, Sifan Hassan. But to have Hassan clashing against Assefa here this morning is certainly one to watch. Denise Lewis, the starter for this women's race, currently UK Athletics president and of course heptathlon Olympic champion. Denise Lewis bringing a focus to every job she does and executing it perfectly. And the athletes away in this race as well. The pacing is quite ambitious at the front of the group. They are targeting 2:15, so that'll be well underneath the women's only world record. Chaos at the start as they try and get around the advertising boards to try to find their pacemakers. And you've got to keep calm at this stage in the race, Chris. I think that how do you control the emotion and the adrenaline in those final 5 minutes, and then when the buzzer goes off like that?
Yeah, it is. I always say the warm-up doesn't finish until you get to.
Well, as expected, this group of 4 moving away, and we'll keep an eye on the early times. We'll just have a little look at Eilish's group here. So we were given the athletes who are going to go with the various paces. They all look as though they've slotted into the right group straight away. Eilish really chilled. You and I are staying where the athletes stay, and last couple of days she's very much looking forward to, although
Euphoria, excitement and exhaustion and dirtiness of all the shoes again.
Again, business as usual here in the women's elite race. See Jepchirker and Alamu hopping over for a drink. Hassan going there as well. No drink from Assefa. And the 2 pacemakers as well. Is that a deliberate decision from Tigist Assefa? I'm not sure. I don't think you would be. I think you take as many drinks as you can nowadays with the technology of the nutrition and a day like this with the warm weather.
I mean, yeah, who are we to judge an ex-world record holder? But yeah, you would think nowadays that the information is you take as much as you can every 5K and hold on to it. And it's interesting, you've got the two kind of athletes we're looking at, Assefa not taking a bottle, but Hassan taking a very slow and deliberate time over grabbing that bottle. And it was funny, Emil Caress, I spoke to him and he said that his coach Canova talks, it's really important to take your time over the drink station. If you lose a couple of seconds, that's fine, because you'll make that up through taking your time to get that fuel on and make certain you get it all inside. And I certainly at the moment, the way Hassan, oh, she is wincing a bit. There was a bit of a wince, but that gap was largely built up because of the drink station, making certain she got it. But this is where Hassan is unpredictable. She is wince. That was another wince. She is unpredictable, and she does kind of race with a lot of drama. And I don't know, man. That's actually looking a little bit more. I don't know, but anything's possible after what happened 2 years ago. We need to keep an eye on that.
So they're coming towards Kati Sark here. That is still the elite women's race. You can see Sifan Hassan just a shade behind, and at 31.16 through 10 kilometres being credited to Tigist Assefa. That's underneath the pace that was hit by Perez Cheptic here last year. She came through in 31.26, so well under the 32 minutes Paula Radcliffe did for the course record. The pace fluctuates through the marathon. I'm trying to compare the splits, where those races were at this point in the race, because it's not always even as the course twists and turns and undulates. Now, Sifan Hassan in 2023, I was going to say, it's almost looks the same but a totally different mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Opposite mentality. This group here in the women's race, they're working very well together. It seems pretty calm. We could see one of the pacemakers just asking Assefa to back off a tiny bit, but Hassan looks fine. I can't see her facial expressions all that well at the moment, but that grimace that we saw around about 10 kilometres, that seems to have settled down. Could just be some stomach issues, right? That just at that stage of the race, just something, a bit of a stitch.
I think she, and again, I'm cautious how I word this, but she's someone that kind of draws on that kind of drama within herself to kind of almost distract her from what she's doing. There's a large amount of psychology to that, to almost dismiss yourself, to relax yourself. And we're getting some incredible splits here: 5:01, 5:09, 5:17. Again, the reason they will fluctuate will be sometimes because the course. Mile 6 is you're coming up to Kati Sark, so it is a little bit of a twisty turny, and then you come out of that 5:01 is a bit more of a generous. But back to Hassan, she does kind of use that inner drama in herself almost as a way. She's wincing still there, and for someone to be wincing but then stay with it, there's almost like an inner mind game she's playing with herself to deal with what she's doing to get her to that second half, because naturally she is a track runner. She's incredibly fast, and obviously it's a big difference to running a sub 2 minute 800 meters to running for 2+ hours, and so she'll be playing a lot of mind games in herself. And that's one of the best things about marathon, is run your own race, run in your own head for as long as possible. And I certainly wouldn't, any other athlete, I'd be worried for them, but Hassan, anything's possible, and we never get a boring story out of her when it comes to racing, whether it's track or road.
I think you're right. I think there's no need to sort of overreact to Hassan. Yeah, like we say, if there is definitely still a grimace on her face there, but when you get to watch, you have the opportunity to watch these athletes for so long. It's hard not to read into these little tells. And Alemu as well, there's a tiny rise there, but that's not a significant rise. And Alemu, the head bobbing, she's in real trouble there, Mugurtu Alemu. They're going fast in this race, but it's not crazy fast. We know it's slightly warm today, but that for Mugurtu Alemu, that's not a Hassan kind of rocking and rolling with the pace. I think Mugurtu Alemu could be in real trouble, and that's a really quick sort of change in pace from her and dropping right back behind Hassan.
Yeah, I know that little rise well, and it really annoyed me. And quite often I would sort of almost deliberately allow my legs not to force it. But again, we'll know over the next kind of mile or so whether that was a real hurt or whether she actually was just allowing herself to glide to the top of it. Because there is a front foot kind of push when you're going over little mounds like that. And there's also the mentality of, I'm just going to roll with it. And so, I mean, she's holding on Hassan there, but again, I do feel like her cadence is a little bit aggressive at the moment. But she won Valencia 2:16. She's a world-class athlete. She's got a lot of good history in the marathon, and she's certainly not to be dismissed. But at this point, the commentators' curse, we're kind of looking for these things to kind of assess and trying to read their body language of what's going through their head. But for me, Jocelyn, I just love her kind of tunnel vision, and she hasn't moved from the front. Assefa, again, she's doing what she does, and I think between the four of them, we're not, I think we're in for a really good race, but we will start to see cracks appear a lot more. But Alemu does look like she's working a little bit hard, but we'll see.
And that almost seemed to inspire Sifan Hassan, I think. It's the other thing in a race, you can be out there thinking, I'm the only person that's finding it this hard. And it can feel very lonely, very suddenly. And so I think for Sifan Hassan, it was almost to see Alemu struggle like that and realise, OK, I'm not the only person feeling like I'm on my limit, feeling like this is a horrible race and we're only 45 minutes into it, because Hassan looks better than she did when we rejoined these elite women. But you're right, Janet Jepkosko with the green bib, Jocelyn Jepkosko there with the green bib on her chest, looking nice and relaxed. Tigist Assefa, the Ethiopian with the purple bib, and the white vest just off towards the side there. Again, she's looked very, very switched on, very sort of locked into this race.
Yeah, and I think as well, something to bear in mind with a lot of these athletes.
Does start to look like a significant gap here in the women's elite race. Mugerto Alemu, she faded and then she battled back, but I think that is Mugerto Alemu setting up for a lonely last hour and a half on the roads here. Jocelyn Jepkosko, Tigist Assefa looking absolutely fine. The graphic here at 15 kilometres, I think it's crediting Sifan Hassan was second at that point in the race. This was sort of 3 minutes ago or so. That was the last time we saw Hassan getting involved in this lead pack, but she has now drifted down a little bit. You can see Elish McColgan for Britain going well on her debut, some 2 minutes 50 behind this group. She's just working her way through that second chase pack, but Tigist Assefa looks over her shoulder, looks at her watch and wonders, where is my nemesis? Where is Sifan Hassan? Of course, we've said it time and time again, you can't write off the Dutch woman. She closed up, I think it was around about 28 seconds she was adrift in 2023 by mile 11 or so, and she did close down that gap. But Tigist Assefa and Jocelyn Jepkosko, there's no faltering there. They've got their drinks, they've stayed calm, they've stayed right with the pacemakers, and drama already for Sifan Hassan, and we're only 50 minutes into the race.
Yeah, this story is really starting to unfold now, and I think one of the things with, if the reports were true, as Sifan did say after the Olympics last year, and she hasn't raced since, she said she took 4 months off, which is a huge chunk of time, but she did also say it's the first time she's only trained for a marathon. So it's kind of a, what form is that going to produce on the day when you have that much time off, but at the same time you're not trying to run a load of track races and run a marathon like she did in the Olympics last year. But listen, this is the beauty of this incredible race, is she is certainly not out of it. Alemu is unfortunately looking like she's going to be looking behind her now and trying to hold on, and hopefully she can get to the finish. We're not halfway. This is very early to be feeling it. But again, Hassan is a mind game player with herself. And there's nothing wrong, I've been there and done it myself, just to ease back and just get back under the red line a bit before going at it again. And sometimes athletes can spend too long. But again, that gap, it almost looks like it's ever so slightly she's nudging it back. This potentially for me, and it has been in history, just her way of dealing with the first half of a marathon to get to the game time. But Jocelyn, again, cool as a cucumber. Assefa, she's come here with a purpose, she's come here with confidence, but I refer back to, she claimed her half marathon DNF in December was just a test. But again, athletes will say that when they're having a bad day, so we don't know. But I think of all the three athletes, Jocelyn is the one that's come in here with proven form, a proven PB and a proven kind of race record coming into this. Hassan, this might just be a bit of race rustiness, and she looks a little bit more kind of eyes on the prize. She's not wincing as much now.
You're right, Chris. I think even though there is a bit of a gap there, that's better than Hassan looked through the last 15 minutes. I think the last couple of times we've joined this elite women's race, she has been grimacing, and that was whether she was using the wheelchair racer there or the motorbike, kind of felt like this was the opportunity to put in a little change of pace and get right back on the group. She looks absolutely fine now.
It's like watching the wheelchair race where the gaps kind of chop and change so quickly. I mean, this is the brilliance of Hassan. She is so in her own head right now, and she doesn't concern about the others. And Bridget and Assefa, they would have had a feeling, we've got rid of her, and now they've got to deal with the fact, no, we haven't. And that plays mind games for those athletes, because they, as soon as they start to relax and think, right, we've gone from 4 down to 2, now it's back to 3. That's going to offer a little bit of psychological damage and a little bit of fatigue in the other two athletes. So this is a wonderful piece of mind play. I mean, it happened to me. Kenenisa Bekele, I'm comparing myself to him now, I'm not, but I raced him in the big half and he backed off and I started to feel like, yeah, I've got rid of him and I started to put...
Have a check-in with the women's elite race. No change for Jocelyn Jepkosgei and Tigist Assefa. They are down to one pacemaker though here in the women's race. There's Catherine Amanangole of Kenya. She's doing a very, very good job. Sifan Hassan, she's been yo-yoing sort of no man's land there and just getting herself back in. And you can see she is just keeping herself involved and maybe just picking up that drink there.
Yeah, I'm just looking in the background wondering what the pacemaker's trying to do. She's hanging in her own group with no one there. But anyway, 5:15, 5:03, 5:15 again. It's very much the nature of the course, sticking around this incredibly ferocious pace. But it's good to see Hassan holding on to her drink, a lot like Emile Caresse last year, making certain she gets all the drink in there and setting herself up. Again, this yo-yoing is all going to be part of her running her own race. But I just hope Assefa took a drink on. We haven't seen it yet. I just hope for her sake that she has. Jocelyn again sticking in there. There's a relief when you get across the bridge in London Marathon. I know we're about to turn the corner and hit the halfway official split, but there is an element of getting north side of the Thames. There's almost like every step you take is closer to home. It's almost like if you think of it as out and back. I always like to think of marathon running as out then back, and when you're on the journey home and you're seeing, metaphorically speaking, the finish line, it always feels that little bit better. So we're going to get a halfway split coming up in the next 2 minutes. That'll be very interesting to see, and to see how they react, because again, I know Assefa's been looking at her watch, but Bridget I don't think has as much, and they'll get a kind of an emotional response to when they see that halfway and the realisation of this is the kind of pace I'm going at here.
And I think almost Sifan Hassan, I mean, that's a big gap. That could be the biggest we've seen so far for Sifan Hassan. But I think there is merit also in slowing down when you're taking that fuel on board. It's hard to breathe and consume the fuel, so why not just take the pressure off yourself and get that down you properly, avoid taking on air at the same time. There's a 5-second gap after 20 kilometres being credited. 63 minutes 12 through 20k. That is absolutely moving. They are 20 seconds faster than Perez Chepchirchir was at this stage last year, and way faster than Paula Radcliffe was. A minute and a half faster than Paula Radcliffe's own course record, 2:15.25. That has stood for 22 years. It was a world record for absolute yonks as well. So we could be on for women's only world record.
የዩቲዩብ ተከታታዮች ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ቤተሰብ መሆን እንዳትዘነጉ። ላይክ እና ሼር በማድረግ ለሌሎች እንዲዳረስም አድርጉ።
The gap between the Olympic champion Sifan Hassan and the Olympic silver medalist Tigist Assefa and Jocelyn Jepkosgei is certainly the biggest we've seen so far this morning in London. I mentioned the deficit in 2023 when she took this win was 28 seconds at halfway, and we are through halfway here in the women's elite race. There we go, right on cue, 66.40 for the half marathon. And Sifan Hassan at that point was only 10 seconds behind. I think that's a little bit further right now, but as just said, that's not a deficit she's failed to overcome in the past, so never write off Sifan Hassan. But 66.40 through halfway, that is 80 seconds faster than Paula Radcliffe's course record, and 20 seconds faster than Perez Chepchirchir, last year's winner, was at this point. So can we say we're well on for a women's only world record? That mark stood for a while to Mary Keitany at 2:17. And then it went to Perez Chepchirchir last year, 2:16.16. She actually led the top four, all underneath that women's only world record. That included Jocelyn Jepkosgei and Tigist Assefa. They were second and third last time out, behind Perez Chepchirchir. No cracks, no weaknesses shown for these two, as there wasn't last year. They look very, very strong all the way into that last sort of mile. They all entered the last mile together. But Sifan Hassan, she is a bit further behind.
She is, but one of the things she will be thinking about, okay, is this pacemaker is doing one heck of a great job. But we're not far away from the pacemaker's going to start thinking about, I can't maintain this, or dropping out, and then it becomes a race, and that changes everything. Because if neither Assefa or Jocelyn start looking at each other, that gap goes. And so Hassan will be mindful there's still a lot of drama to happen, and Hassan is capable of closing that gap down if she's feeling good in a click of a finger. So I think once the pacemaker drops out in the next kind of, I'm sure these athletes will be hoping she's got another 30 minutes in her, but it's hard to know. She is running incredibly quick, depending on how she's feeling, but it is looking a little bit like these two athletes are enjoying this fast pace. Jocelyn and Assefa enjoying the fact they're running this fast, which is a worrying sign for Hassan, but again, this story is far from over and there's still a lot more twists and turns to occur.
Would you have expected to have two pacemakers left at this point or not? I mean, we saw one of the pacemakers drop off over Tower Bridge, and I think it was one of the male pacemakers as well dropped out very early, and that can have a knock-on effect if you're not having as much support as you expected. Assefa took a long look behind. If she's a canny racer and she knows she's only got one pacemaker, does she need to make a push at this stage in the race just to deter Sifan Hassan from thinking she's got any chance of being involved?
This is the almost clever bit that with Hassan, if this is deliberate, is because this is mind games, like I said, for the athletes in front. Assefa is going to want Hassan not to get back on the back of them, and she's going to be looking almost with a bit of trepidation of, is she gone, is she not? And that takes up energy, and she just needs to concentrate on being relaxed right now, because you're not going to ending champion. Quite a lot in his court that if it goes down that route.
So Jocelyn Jetkowski, Tigist Assefa still running well in first and second here in the women's race. Just the one pacemaker left for them, Catherine Amangole. And Sifan Hassan, I cannot see her as we look down the road. There she is, just behind. And Sifan Hassan going well here in third place. It's only her fifth marathon ever, third marathon ever. We'll get down to that, but
well, my research was it was 3. I know in the notes we were given it was 4, but I can't find where the 4th race was. London, Chicago, Olympic Marathon. Listen,
you're right.
I did my own research. But listen, the thing with Hassan is, and this is what I love about her, you know she's going to stick with this. Whatever performance it is today, she's got a drink there. She's just a close-up of her. This is what I love about Hassan. You know, whether she's competing to win or whether the pacemaker's gone. That's early. That's very early. So Hassan, like I say, go back to her for a second. She's going to give her best performance on the day that she can offer. So whatever, she's not going to see her on the side of the road unless there's an injury or something. And so these two athletes at the front are going to have to be mindful. They've got an athlete coming from behind who is not going to give up. Now they're next to each other, and Assefa saying get in front, Jocelyn, and Jocelyn's not playing ball. Now this is very early now, and this really could, if they're playing games too much, Hassan could suddenly find herself catching these up without actually trying, which will really mess with Jocelyn and Assefa. So Assefa is a very kind of active, thoughtful runner. She almost brings that 800 alertness to the marathon, which is quite tiring. And again, I'll go back to my previous point. I hope she's had a drink, because we haven't seen it.
You're right.
We haven't seen it, and I hope she has. I know she knows what she's doing. She's run 2:11. She does know what she's doing. But Bridget had Jocelyn had a very an air of confidence around her. She's well prepped, as we talked about. And Assefa, you know, she does have that kind of time mindset that from the track, doesn't she? She's very much like, what time am I going to run? Whereas Jetkowski is very much like, I want to win.
Well, they were 79.14 through the 35-kilometre split, and I'm comparing that to, that was a wheelchair split that got flashed up there. I was thinking, what is going on? But the 25k, apologies, seeing at that last time check, I don't think it looks like she's eating into that gap much. And Tigist Assefa, she said that she thinks she's in better shape than when she ran her 2:11 world record, and that's quite a claim, and you shouldn't make that sort of claim lightly. And I think Assefa, for me, she was looking to Jetkowski to say, help me with this pace, and at that point, around about 7 or 8 minutes ago, Jocelyn Jetkowski didn't really look like she wanted to share the pacemaking duties. I think maybe a game of cat and mouse, Jetkowski saying, if I hold back for another kilometre, will Assefa just to think I haven't got it in me, and will she take up the running? Because there's a disadvantage here. If you're the athlete that does all the work, it could cost you in the latter miles, and it's too early to think, I'm feeling good. These women have got 40-45 minutes left to go. They've
running races. I mean, they really. I haven't had the next splits. We're waiting for the update for the women's only world record, but they certainly don't look like they're relinquishing that pace at all. But at some point, I would fully expect them to. There we go, the graphic. There we go. That's what we wanted to see. Right on cue. It's like they're listening to me in the studio. But again, I mean, that that suggests to me, those splits, that again, they're still feeling on top of it. The fluctuation will be to do with the course rather than how they're feeling. If you started seeing 220s drifting in, you might think that the pace is starting to bite a bit. But we're still, I would say, 5, 10, 15 minutes away from where the real marathon kind of halfway point kicks in. And that's interesting, a little move. We're looking for little signs like that. Jocelyn, I tell you, like, she was one of the picks before pre-race from a lot of people, that she had this quiet confidence about her. She is a previous winner. She just goes about her business. When asked about her chances, she just almost smiled. Didn't really want to give too much away because she had partly because she had a lot of respect for her competitors, but also because she just wanted to do her own thing and just turn up and race. And that, when you're playing the long game in the marathon, is important. Not to get wrapped up in the emotion of the kind of fanfare beforehand, and just do the things you need to do. And I think she's been really impressive. To this point, of all the athletes, she's the one that's really put in that kind of patience and tick the boxes that you need to tick in the marathon for the second half. But Assefa falling back, I think that's a significant sign for me.
Emotionally, that can be quite hard.
And I always like those kind of mini bridge breaks going under, a bit of fresh air, get out the sun, and it's also annoying because it's kind of up and down. So the women, back to the women's race, and they've started to do like almost like a kind of a back to front kind of scenario. We did see in the other pictures before, when we were looking at the men, that Assefa was in front, so I don't think this is necessarily like they are kind of back and forth who's leading it. So maybe there's a little bit of like, just keep this pace honest, but there's also going to be an element of Assefa's going to feel a little bit more confident about her finish, not just because she's an 800-meter runner, but because she did beat her last year in a sprint. Assefa was second, and Jackowski was third. So there is going to be a bit of history that does play into the mind. But again, we're still in the territory of a good, what are we looking at? A good 35 minutes to go, and that will still mean that you still have to think like a marathon runner. You're not trying to deal with the last couple of K just yet. You're trying to deliver yourself to that point in the best condition you can, and they will be listening to see if there's a sniff of, is it worth putting in an extra effort? There will be, sort of listening for signs for that, but at the moment they're certainly visually, they're not showing any signs of it's worth pushing on the pace, but to try and drop each other. But again, they'll be listening to each other. They'll be listening to anything's changed. Are they hitting the ground a little bit harder? Are they breathing that little bit more heavy? And that gap is really opened up now to Sifan Hassan.
So Sifan Hassan some 70 seconds behind these two. I don't know how Assefa seemed to tangle with Justin Jackowski. There's only the two of them on the road. So Sifan Hassan in a podium position at the moment. Vivian Chariot quietly going about her business. The Kenyan who's been at the forefront of so many global races over the last 10, 15 years. In fourth place at the moment. Two leaders coming through 20 miles. Around about 142, nearly 143 there. Assefa, you mentioned she did beat Jackowski in a sprint finish in the mile last year, but she lost the sprint finish to Jackowski. Jackowski won the race. Assefa lost that sprint finish and then didn't get caught by Jackowski for me. And Assefa lost the sprint finish in Paris. And they are slowing. Look at these graphics here we've got on the screen. 5:15, 5:11 for 17:18, and then 5:20, 5:18. Is that, again, Chris, you've got the insight here. You've run London Marathon 6 times. You finished in the top 10.
Doesn't feel like it sitting here, I'll be honest.
Is that the course or is that fatigue?
It's a bit of both, definitely, because that's Canary Wharf kind of area, and it is twisty and turny. It's a real nuisance. I always say to athletes, for my personal opinion, because we talk a lot about 20 miles is halfway. And part of that is because obviously the challenge of a marathon, but also with London, that Canary Wharf is, you almost want to use that as a point to get to where you've run as much as you can to feel, because the race starts now. This is it, and this is where they're going to come out back onto get back on towards the road towards Big Ben. They're not going to see it for a few miles, but they can take confidence. There's not a huge amount of, there you can see on the graphic where we're coming up to Tower of London, past the athlete. Actually, the athlete hotel has moved now. Actually, so the pacemakers. I hope the pacemakers didn't stop at the bridge because they've got a long walk.
Check into the old hotel.
But you've got now. I always felt at this point the race starts and you've got just a straight shot. You don't have. You've got a few bridges to go under, but you can kind of take confidence that there's not lots lots of real twisting and turning. So there's the odd corner, but it's nothing too drastic.
But does it feel like an oasis, like it's a never-ending straight that it's just getting further and further away and you're never going to get anywhere near it? Because it's a long...
የዩቲዩብ ተከታታዮች ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ቤተሰብ መሆን እንዳትዘነጉ። ላይክ እና ሼር በማድረግ ለሌሎች እንዲዳረስም አድርጉ።
I think all these athletes have some impressive resumes. They really do.
Jocelyn Jetkoski just ahead of Tigist Assefa at the moment here in the elite women's race. 1 hour 50 on the clock. I think they're on for around about 2 hours 15, closing in on Paula Radcliffe's course record that stood for 22 years. That was so iconic when it happened, and it isn't hard to believe it's lasted 22 years. Women's marathon running has moved on now. Of course, that world record all the way down 2:09. We were due to have Ruth Chepngetich here in London, but she withdrew, as did the defending champion Perez Chepchirchir, but we've still got second and third fastest women of all time. Assefa, second fastest, and there is the third fastest woman of all time. 2 hours 13 for Sifan Hassan. And she's working really hard as she moves through Rainbow Road. Last time we saw the time difference, it was 70 seconds. She had a massive buffer over Vivian Cheriot, who's in 4th place at the minute. But perhaps not a dream second trip to London for Sifan Hassan.
No, but I mean, she's not going to lose the heart and minds of the audience and everyone around. And this, whatever happened today, is not going to change the greatness that she is as an athlete. But I think today, possibly, we might be seeing kind of the repercussions of 4 months off, if that's what she had. I mean, I only took 4 months off in my career if I got injured. I did do that a fair few times, but it's a tough road back, that amount of time off. So, but again, you know, listen, she's hanging in there. Hopefully she can hold on to that 3rd place. But the Gathics behind, Vivian and Co, are going to be gunning her down. But these two still look pretty calm, don't they, at the front? They still look like they're kind of duking it out next to each other, but like I was trying to say before, they're going to be kind of like assessing each other, kind of subtly, kind of trying to get information, trying to read the other athlete. Drinks. Safa's having a drink. Excellent. Perfect. That'll get her to the finish.
Wow. I do think you were quite right to pick up, Chris, that maybe saw her get something on the very first station 5k, but she didn't seem to take one at 10k. But we haven't seen all the drink stations, but to have her get
I'm sure
that
she has, yeah.
I'm sure she has. And 52.12, that's the closest, that's the slowest they've been compared to Paula Radcliffe so far on the course records. They've just got around about 20 seconds ahead of the virtual Paula Radcliffe from 22 years ago. Tigist Assefa and Jocelyn Jetkoski. I think at this point, Assefa has the more decorated CV in terms of times, in terms of the Olympic silver medal, winning in Berlin when she set that world record. I think this for me, this is almost her race to lose, and Jocelyn Jetkoski should feel like I've got an opportunity here to cause an upset. And both of those mentalities, you need to bring a different level of patience to this level of a marathon. Because if Assefa starts thinking, I should win this, I have to win it, I have to force it, she's going to make a mistake and she's going to go too hard, too early. And Jetkoski, I think she at this stage, when you're exhausted, is it tempting to start thinking, second's good, second would be really, second to Assefa is just fine.
I think you're a athlete, but we're going to go back to the women's. But Sarway, hopefully we can get back to see what's going on there.
Just past 2 hours in the elite women's race, Tigist Assefa and Jocelyn Jetkoski have been alone at the front of this race since around about halfway. They had a pacemaker for another few miles after that, but the rest of the athletes, first Roberto Alemo dropped away, and then Sifan Hassan, the Olympic champion, couldn't live with the pace that these two were going at. 35 kilometres, 1:52.12, so they're still underneath course record pace, still on course for a women's only world record.
Big gap. Assefa, she's leading and she's moving away and she's heading towards the finish and she's heading towards a win. That time slipped a little bit, but she's now solidified around that 2:15. We thought they might go to 2:15 and a half, might yet be round about that, because she now doesn't have to sprint, she doesn't have to pick it up, stay strong to the finish, and it's hers. So 2 British athletes in the top 10. There is Eilish. Well, she decided early on, didn't she? Very early on, Paula, that the 2:18 was ambitious, and she needs to do is concentrate on going the right direction, bless her. So Tigist Assefa just trying to raise one more ounce of effort, one more grain of speed if she can. But to be fair, she doesn't really need to. The Olympic silver medalist, the former world record holder, twice winner in Berlin, second here in London last year, comes back and turns it into a magnificent victory. It's going to be a women's only world record for Tigist Assefa. Superb performance. Number one, where she's always wanted to be, fastest, whichever way you want to describe it. Tigist Assefa.
የዩቲዩብ ተከታታዮች ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ቤተሰብ መሆን እንዳትዘነጉ። ላይክ እና ሼር በማድረግ ለሌሎች እንዲዳረስም አድርጉ።
Jocelyn Jankowski, who came here with a super fast half marathon under her belt, was hoping to run very well, and she has. She gave it her best, she gave it a go, but just found Assefa too good today. Second place for the Kenyan, and not far behind. Sifan Hassan will take third. She won't be bothered about the time, neither will Sifan. It's been a hard day for her, but the others knew what they had to do and they did it. She'll respect that. Made it hard. Just inside 2:19. Eilish, here she is. She's going to run quicker than her mum. She's going to get a Scottish record for her efforts, and she will be the first British athlete.
Her legs are, they almost caught there, but she has been a long time waiting for this moment, crossing that finish line, and it is going to take that Scottish record, sub 2:25.
Yeah, it'll put her seventh, I make it, on the British All. The Olympic silver medalist came out on top of the big three names. Jankowski hung on as long as she could. Sifan Hassan couldn't keep there, just beyond halfway. They were the top three, and then Eilish McColgan in her first marathon comes home, first British athlete, 2:24.25 in a Scottish